Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Peter Colwell, and it's my pleasure today to welcome you to a virtual conversation with my good friend, Michael Jackson. That's Michael K. Jackson. We are both friends and colleagues, members of the National Speakers Association, the local chapter in Washington, D.C., and proud graduates of their Speaker Academy. We're coming to you today to share some concepts and ideas that have worked for us and we hope will be beneficial to you. Mike?
Peter, thank you so much, brother. It's certainly a great pleasure in joining you on this journey today. And thank you all for taking the time out of your schedules to watch this. So, as Peter said, I am Michael K. Jackson, inspirational speaker, author, and resilience and well-being strategist. So I'm going to share some concepts with you today to help you overcome adversity, reduce your stress, and navigate change. And we all need tools to help us navigate change in this current moment, don't we? So first up, I want to just share a little story with you. So it was a couple of years ago, and I received one of those phone calls that you never want to receive. It was a friend of mine telling me that my dad, unfortunately, had just passed away in St. Thomas, West Virgin Islands, where I grew up, in the midst of Hurricane Maria. You all might remember Hurricane Maria back in 2017. And this was devastating for me. But what I did through my grieving process, I did a couple of things. And it really allowed me, going through that process, allowed me to reflect back on all of the various adversities that come through my life. And I actually realized that there were certain things, there's a certain plan that I put into place when I'm going through stuff. And I'm working that plan right now during this COVID-19 situation. One thing I do is a 4-step process, and I call it a hurricane-proof process that you too can put into place to help you manage your stress during, adverse circumstances. First step is to practice prayer and meditation. Second step is to lean in and listen. Lean into the adversity and listen for the lesson. There's always a lesson to be learned when you're going through stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like trying to find a diamond in the rough, but it's there. Act accordingly based on what you learned when you leaned in and listened. And then finally, notate your mind state. Effective writing in a journal has been an effective tool for me through my process in terms of dealing with not only the passing of my dad in the middle of a hurricane, but I mentioned hearkening back to times of adversity in the past, and it's really relevant to today because it was a period of time in which I actually after flying high in my career, was laid off and was nearly homeless, was, as they say, broke, busted, and disgusted. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was back then that I actually had implemented this plan, these elements of the plan. And it's always been a process that I've followed throughout my life to deal with adversity and to handle stress in my life. So practice prayer and meditation, lean in and listen, act accordingly, and notate your mind state. That's, like I said at the top, it's a tried and true 4-step hurricane-proof process. And aren't we dealing with, an emotional hurricane with this global pandemic at this time? So it's
absolutely. Absolutely,
right, Peter? So it's something that you too, as a leader, can put into effect in your life to help you overcome adversity.
Mike, thanks so much for sharing that. I know I've had the benefit of hearing you speak on stage and presenting these ideas in a very inspirational and heartfelt way. as they relate to situations that you've gone through, that you've persevered through. And as you mentioned, we're going through so much right now as a community, as a state, as a nation and a world in, for us, unprecedented times, to say the least. Having said that, what would you say has been your biggest benefit, or is today, that you kind of extrapolate from that plan that helps you to get through? What's helping you to get through right now specifically?
Absolutely. That question. I think the biggest benefit is really a shifting of my mindset, my mind state, if you will, in terms of viewing adversity, viewing situations, not as I always say, adversity may come to destroy you if you let it, but if you view it a different way, it will come to develop you. So it's that mindset shift that really happened for me organically as I've gone through stuff. That has been really the biggest benefit. How you view a situation is really the most important thing, and not necessarily what you're going through.
Great. Well, that's very powerful. I know it's very important for us to have a plan. They say that people don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan. I've heard that one before, and it may sound cliched, but it is so true. I'd like to share with you, just to kind of build upon what you've said, is the importance of not just getting by, which sometimes that's all we can do, is just to get through the moment, to survive. As humans, that's essential for us, but also to make sure that we're taking it to another level and we're thriving. So with that in mind, just to share some concepts that have worked for me and my family and others, is a roadmap for thriving. And that first step is to tackle one problem at a time. Sometimes if I'm giving a speech to a group of people, I might say, raise your hand if you have problems, and the hands go straight up. I said, and then we head to work and we have even more problems. So life is filled with, maybe we won't call them problems, we'll call them uncertainties or challenges or hiccups along the road. Whatever we call them, there's plenty to go around. And there's really no avoiding it, right, Mike?
No avoiding it at all.
Right. And the more that responsibility that we take as parents, as leaders in our community and at work, we're going to face them. And so it's figuring out a way to tackle one problem instead of getting overwhelmed and inundated with so much going on in our minds that leads to inevitable stress and anxiety in our lives. I've been in property management, commercial real estate, for almost 20 years. I'm a senior manager for CBRE right now. And many years ago, about 10 years ago, I was brand new as a manager, taking over a portfolio of buildings. And we had the snowpocalypse. Do you remember that? 40 inches of snow, back-to-back blizzards. Yep. As a result, we had a roof collapse at one of the warehouses that I was managing, 265,000 square feet. And the snow load was just too much. And the roof collapsed, severing 2 6-inch sprinkler lines, which flooded the entire warehouse. So you can just imagine, I'm sure in your mind, what it was like driving the minivan down the local highway, and it was very overwhelming. But what got me through this crisis, to manage it, was talking to someone who was very senior in our organization, JLL at the time, who said, Peter, I've got 4 things for you to do. Don't worry about anything else, just these 4 things, and write them down. 1, 2, 3, and 4. First one was to find a structural engineer, which I had to do in the middle of the night. And there were a few other ones. But by having just 4 things to focus on instead of 10 or 20, it did a world of good. I won't say I wasn't stressed or full of adrenaline, but I was able to just take it hour by hour and day by day. And I found that can be very effective no matter what industry we're in, no matter what situation we're dealing with. Next, we want to have confidence. Have confidence that things will get better, that they're going to turn around. I like to write poems, and one poem that I wrote recently is called Envision Better Days. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share that with you.
Absolutely. You are the motivational poet.
There you go. There you go. It goes like this. When you find yourself pining for a silver lining, but can only see that dark cloud, take stock of what's working, not the dangers out lurking, and speak these bold words loud and proud. Better days are ahead for my family and me. This I declare with certainty. My confidence comes from unshaken belief that God's on our side and will soon send relief. It's a matter of time until things turn around. Until that day comes, keep your feet on the ground. Connect with the earth and all of its beauty. Help those in need. It's our call to duty. Life is a series of valleys and peaks. Peaks can last days and valleys last weeks. Use this time wisely and patiently wait, preparing yourself for a life that is great.
Awesome.
Thank you. So that's called Envision Better Days, and I think that really just encompasses the idea of having confidence that things will turn around, whatever situation we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Next, we want to recognize our resources, whether it's the technology that's been enhanced. These Zoom calls are great, aren't they, in this age? Some people have been using them all the time, but it's brand new for a whole lot of people, including my wife who's teaching now and my daughter taking classes.
Kids, absolutely.
It's a survival tool and a thriving tool. And so we want to lean on those resources, the people and the technology, mostly the people, I think, who lean into our network when times are tough. Also, it's important to, I think, to imagine a perfectly productive day. Now, I don't know about you, but usually my expectations for the day are up here, and then the reality goes somewhere here.
Yeah.
Something happens, right, Mike, just to derail us or take us off course?
Always.
Always. So if we can just keep in our minds what that perfect day might look like, maybe we can get back to it when things come off course.
Yeah.
In our office at work, we're going through challenges, dealing with reoccupancy plans when people come back to work, and on top of all the regular duties. And one thing we've instituted, my assistant manager instituted, is quarantine time. So every Friday, now we have tea and some just a time to make the most of the moment. And you'd be surprised at the level of productivity those 2 hours after tea time, when we just had a chance to relax. Yeah.
I love it.
It's making the most of the situation.
Yeah.
Next, we want to place value on what we already have. A lot of times we're looking for the next thing or not appreciating what we've already accomplished in our life. Norman Vincent Peale wrote a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. And it was one of the, I believe, the first inspirational books that I read when I was about 20 years old. And there's a prayer in there, a quick prayer that I want to share there because it's really something that I've internalized in my life. It goes like this: I believe this is going to be a wonderful day. Say it whether you believe it or not. I believe I can successfully handle all problems that will arise today. I feel good physically, mentally, and emotionally. It is wonderful to be alive. I am thankful for all that I have had, for all that I now have, and for all that I shall have. Things are not going to fall apart. God is here and He is with me, and He will see me through. I thank God for every good thing.
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, I've said that many times, and sometimes I wonder how it's going to work out. Yes. And where there's a will, there's a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way, Pete.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And just one final thought before I turn it back over to you is the idea of energizing our spirit, our mind, our body, and our spirit. With so much negative news coming our way, and sometimes it's just neutral news, but things that can affect us and impact us, the stress can really build up. So we have to find ways that we can express that so we don't internalize that and become depressed and become emotionally anxious and worried to an extensive degree. One thing that helps me is finding that silver lining. So there's a quick little exercise. I teach Dale Carnegie courses a few times a year, and one thing I have people do is to allow them to vent their frustration, because we don't want to pretend everything's rosy and perfect all the time when it's not. Vent that frustration. Just take 5 or 10 seconds and say, oh man, this is terrible, what's going on? And then say, but that's okay, because, and then we find the silver lining. So you could say, oh man, traffic was terrible, I was stuck in there for 2 hours. That's okay, I arrived safely at work and I'm having a great day. So you can just imagine any situation that's not going well, say, yep, it's not the best, but that's okay, and find something good, something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So with that, I'm going to turn that over to you, but that's sort of a model for thriving that, while not perfect, can work if we really put our minds to it.
I love it, Pete. I love it, man. And finding that silver lining, as I was listening to you, it really made me think about leaning in and listening for the lesson. You know, when you listen for the lesson is really equivalent to finding that silver lining. You know, yeah.
For sure, for sure.
That's awesome. So, and you know that's you know one of the reasons why we've become great friends, and one of the reasons why we're doing this because our stuff just dovetails with one another, and it's great. So I have a question for you before we wrap up. I got a question for you, and it might be a little difficult for you because this is almost like asking you to choose, which one to get your kids as a favorite.
Oh, I can't go there. I've got a daughter and a son. My favorite daughter, my favorite son. But.
Trust me, I know. I tell mine, everybody's my favorite.
Exactly.
That being said, right? If you had to choose, just one component of Thrive, which one would it be? If you just had to choose one.
Just one. Well, that is tough because I kind of like them all.
Yeah.
And they've all come in handy. I think the one that would resonate if I had to just pick one as a go-to the whole time would be have confidence. Having confidence that things will get better because it is a challenge to believe in better days. We can say it, but we need to make sure that we say it enough times that we believe it, that we keep the faith going, that we fuel the fire. Also, just having confidence in ourselves in general is so important. I'll never forget Mr. Moore was my son Peter's 5th grade teacher, and he sent him a note, actually wrote a note on his yearbook, at the end of the year, and it was 3 words: keep having confidence. And my son was struggling with a couple of classes, and Mr. Moore was so encouraging. And those words, keep having confidence, I could see in the 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and now he's a junior going into a senior year. The confidence has grown, becoming an Eagle Scout even, and had to throw in that little plug there as a proud dad. But you keep having confidence, whether you're in middle school, you're high school, or just starting out in life, or anywhere on the spectrum, in the spectrum of life. It's important that we keep feeding ourselves with belief, surrounding ourselves with people who will support us and build us up, and also hold us accountable, and just keep believing for better things.
Absolutely. Keep believing for better things. Absolutely. All right. So before we wrap up, Pete, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
I guess I would just leave everyone with this thought, and it's a quote from Lily Tomlin, I believe. Success is a road that is always under construction. And with that in mind, just realize that there may be detours and potholes and all sorts of things that come in our way, but it's a work in progress, and that's life. And to keep building the life that you desire and keep moving toward the person that you want to be. How about you, Mike? What's a final thought for you?
Final thought for me, I would say to make adversity your advisor, not your adversary. That's something I say all the time, and it really goes to your the way you view things, your perspective, your frame of mind. And if you view adversity as an advisor as opposed to an adversary, I dare say that you will plan to thrive, right? It won't just be a matter of surviving and coping and getting through, but you will actually move up that scale into thriving. It's all about mindset. So I'll leave you with that thought. Make adversity.
That is great. That's great. Let's make adversity work for us because it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Yep. Well, I wish this conversation didn't have to end, but maybe we can do this again another time. What do you think?
Absolutely. This might be a first, but it won't be a last, Pete.
Sounds wonderful. Thanks so much, Mike, and thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.